Hi everyone, and welcome back to our Women in Leadership Spotlight series for Women's History Month here at Mosaic. And today I am really excited to be joined by Michelle Calara. Michelle, thank you so much for being here and for being willing to share a little bit about your story with us.
Absolutely. I'm a little bit camera shy, but here we are.
Yes, I'm so excited. And I loved your response when I asked you to be a part of this. You were immediately like, yes, get me involved. So I'm really excited to be able to talk to you today and just spend some time. But, these conversations are meant to be real, thoughtful, and encouraging. So we're really glad that you're a part of this. But before we jump in, can you tell us a little bit about the kind of work you do at Mosaic? I know about some of the work that I don't know all of the work, but I know some of the work that you do. And what do you love most about it?
So interestingly enough, I mean, the fact that I was excited to join this call is very unlike the tech side of me, but I thought it would make, right, some type of small impact based on the work that I do. So the work that I do here at Mosaic, I manage our people analytics BI development team. So we build reports, dashboards, alerts, all kinds of cool KPI and metrics out of UKG Pro, BI tool. In addition to that, I also manage our custom API integration development teams. Essentially, we make systems speak, point A to point B, send data from here, send data from there, ingest it here, ingest it there. So I'm oversimplifying it at this point, but I think I need to in the space that we're in because without it, if we can't explain something simply enough, we don't simply understand it, at least is my model. So we always ask, or at least in my leadership position, I ask the stupid questions to make sure that I'm getting the right clarity and I'm in alignment with the rest of my organization and team. So, and what do I enjoy about it most? The fact that I'm able to actually pursue it. My career here at Mosaic, I started in the BI space, right? But naturally, I had grown into this, I guess, or gravitated towards this innovation of like, let's learn more about integrations. What can we do? What can we not do? And I hate being told what I can't do in
Yeah.
terms of what's impossible because we can make impossible possible. And as corny as it sounds in that word altogether, like I'm possible. So we're growing this work stream of API integrations that almost no one has the ability to understand from both ends of the spectrum. And when I say both ends, I'm saying like the HR industry. The HR industry may think it's too technical, right? And then on the other side of like software developers, software engineers think, oh, this is a piece of cake. But what they don't know is the story behind HR, right? The employee life
Yeah.
cycle, what we go through in the modules. So being that essentially middle person, middle woman, middle man,
Hmm.
we can connect the dots and make it more simply or relatively simply for those who do understand the data, who do understand, HR and payroll, the whole shebang basically, and put it together in a technical sense. Like, what do you need, what you don't need, but how do we make things complicated simple? And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of like word vomit at the moment. But that's the best that I can put it together. I
Yeah.
just want to simplify solutions for people that think that it's way too technical.
Absolutely. And for me, right, I've seen you client side working with clients. We've had the pleasure of working together for quite a while now. And it really, what you had said, it really comes through in how you show up. It's a great example of like the leadership that you have, but also the skill and the influence that you have, right? To be able to say, hey, I know that this needs to make HR sense, but it also needs to make technical sense for our clients. And that really resonates with me, especially too from the HR consulting space and what it means technically as well. So
I'm so
I
excited.
love that. Yes, yes. And I also want to start with a question, something that we're asking everyone in this series is what's something you had to learn the hard way in your career?
I feel like there's multiple things. One being that success isn't linear, and I don't think that's for anyone, but in most cases, it's the most challenging for women.
Yes.
And also being that I am a woman of color.
Yeah.
So the first thing that came to mind when you asked me, have this conversation, do this series, I'm like, I don't think it's the fact that I'm just a woman, but the fact that I'm also, Filipino American. How does that justify what makes me a good leader? Right. And the hardest part is accepting that we were sold this dream when we were younger, and I'm a millennial, that if you
Yes.
work hard, right, you go to college, you'll have this American dream, right? But I am born of immigrant parents. We did that. We worked hard, right? I graduated with honors, right? And I went to college, I enjoyed myself, and I said, okay, what do we do now? And I ended up in an industry that is unlike one that is expected of me. And like I don't want to turn this into a diversity conversation other than the fact that I am a woman, but much of my people, I would say, culturally speaking, work in the healthcare field. And the
Sure.
only reason that we don't gravitate towards the tech field as often is that, like my own parents, they don't understand it. They don't understand the stability, but is there really stability anywhere at this point in time?
Yeah.
No, and that's right. Again, success isn't linear. That's the
Yes.
hardest part. So we try and we try and we try. We try to live the dream that we were sold on. We try again, we fall down, but we are really, I want to say, the most challenged, not only generation, but, you know, being women that we are, those who want to also challenge our equal counterparts, saying that we are not only capable, we are efficient, we are possibly smarter at doing what we do.
Yes.
So I think that's the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
It's very ambiguous to say that success isn't linear, but that's because I was always sold on the dream that success shoots straight up from, graduating
Sure.
college in this career that you'll have right ready for you.
Yeah, I resonate with that, and I really appreciate you sharing that as well. Right? What's been the hardest thing for you in your career, and just sharing a little bit about your story and where you come from. It's really important, and it makes up who you are today. It's an important part of your journey and your story. And I would agree with you. Success is not linear. I have felt that in many different ways in personal relationships, right? I think about personal relationships that we have as well, and kind of making sure that um, we aren't putting a label on it, or we aren't saying it has to be this way, because I think I shared this with Kristen in our first interview as well, that through our vulnerabilities we find strength. And I think too, through the challenges and the hard things that we've had to go through in our lives and in our career lives, um, that success is never linear, and it sometimes goes up and down, but through that you learn a lot of different things, and those kinds of lessons really shape how we lead too, right? Because you know what you would want, how you would want to be led, and so I can only imagine that your team feels that impact as well. So I love it. Thank you for sharing. um, Leading into the impact, really, one thing I admire about your work is the impact it has. I see it because, again, my sitting in an HR seat for most of my career, if someone was able to kind of speak more on my level and not so technical, I may have understood things a little bit quicker, had to ask less questions and those kinds of things. So, but really, what kind of problems do you love solving most in your role?
Ah, I feel like this is obvious for me, but not obvious from outside looking in. Uh, I may not seem like it always, but I am a people person. You put me in smaller groups, I'd actually love to get to know who I'm with. Larger groups, not so much, right? I still get stage fright. I'll do it if it's part of my job, and that's fine because that's the only way I'd leave an impact. But what I think that's right, like number one key component of being missed is that women lead with empathy. And I am such a proponent of doing that, right? I may be technical, or by nature, I may think in a technical way, But that is not the core to us as humans, right? We are not robots. We are not a machine every day coming, signing in line or signing online, coming in and out 8 to 5 or whatever the time is. Like people have emotions, people have feelings, people have a life outside of work.
Yeah.
So my impact is the relationships, not networks, but the relationships I build with people to truly connect and create a genuine connection and foster that relationship with my own team, right? I would say the only way my team is successful is that we know each other, not surface level, right? We are comfortable with sharing our problems. We are comfortable with coming to the table when there is an issue. And we always, we don't always know if it's going to be sunshine and rainbows by the end of it all. But we try to at least enjoy the ride, even if the ride is dim at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So as long as, and in my style, it's like as long as I know my people and as long as they are comfortable. And even if we don't get to that point, right? Some folks can be more private than others. That is okay. But knowing that you have a support system there, not just from a professional working standpoint, but from a person standpoint, I truly believe that that's what leaves the biggest impact, right? You don't quit jobs, you quit your boss. If you don't like your boss, then
Hmm.
what does that say about the work that you do? How will you enjoy the work you do?
Yeah.
So,
And that really, resonates for me too, and explains why people trust you so much, right? Even, the team members that I have, they're like, I'm going to ask Michelle Calara about this. And it's because you have this relationship with them, right? That, could be a little bit under the surface, but maybe a little bit above the surface. But, that's what, that problem solving mindset. And it allows you to, again, not be a robot. We are people, and so it really explains all of that for me too. And I love hearing you kind of talk about how you lead. And really that kind of leads me into leadership changes as our experience grows as well. I know that I've felt that quite a bit as well, especially this last year, but how has your leadership style evolved over time?
uh, I oh man, that's kind of a hard one to answer because my leadership style obviously has always started with empathy,
Yeah.
right? But I also have to remember that empathy is not going to get me as far. Like I will probably have mixed reviews on this, right? Because if I become someone's friend, because I empathize with what they're going through, then I become too lenient or then I become too flexible, right? So how do you find that balance in between? So my leadership style, though it started with let me understand the work that you do, let me understand the issues that you're going through, or just let me understand you as a person, right?
Hmm.
Has slowly evolved into how do we then grow ourselves to position what we can be as a person, not necessarily uh, find out what our potential is, but grow into our potential and then maximize the use of who we are as people and what we have as talent. So my team knows me to be one, obviously an empathetic leader, but two, kind of an enforcer, right? Like I will come to the table saying, okay, this message is as clear and as honest as I can be. And there's not much I can do about it. So either you shoot the messenger, right? And you
Hmm.
don't want to come on board, or you accept that these are the way things are and we'll try to make the most of it. So I am both a mixed bag of one, I will always be your support system, but two, that doesn't mean that I won't be somewhat strict on how we do things. I love process. I love
Yeah.
SOPs. And without process, routines, habits, I don't think I would have the success that I have today. I mean, I say that in my personal life too, right? As children and, as we grow up into these young adults and adults like right now, we thrive on like routines. But
Yeah.
why is that? Because when something new comes into change, we have this whole like, I don't know, chaotic moment of like, oh no, what just happened? But then also it warrants the fact that we wouldn't have change management teams, totally irrelevant to my team, right?
Yeah.
But people like being in control. So the only way to do that is to one, put some rules and boundaries in place.
Mm-hmm.
Enforce the things that you know would help your team be successful. And get their buy-in. And if it's not their buy-in, get their feedback. Just figure out what works for them. So
Yeah,
I guess
absolutely.
I guess I have an open heart with boundaries. That's
Yeah.
really how I can put it.
Yeah, and that accountability piece is so important too, right? We have a business, right? And so we have a business to run, and we have an area of the business to run as leaders. And so I think that evolution is very important. And thank you for being open about that and what your leadership style is today, and maybe how it's evolved over time as well. To close us out, what advice would you give to women growing into leadership roles?
Oh, what advice? I think this one's plain and simple and as black and white as I got. Don't be afraid to speak up, right? Oftentimes we are misjudged or mislabeled as soft spoken. And then the moment that we do speak up, we are then again mislabeled and misjudged for being too out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or too loud, too vocal, too this, too that. It doesn't matter. If you speak up, whether that be a soft spoken person, which I once was, believe it or not, um, you get your voice out there. And the more voices, as being a female, as being a woman in leadership, creates that impact, like that micro impact little by little for organizations such as ours. And then
Yes.
now you look at us, right, with all the people that you're interviewing today here at Mosaic, like there are more women in leadership that you actually expect. And that's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your story and your perspective. And I really appreciate you being a part of this. So we'll be sharing more stories like Michelle's throughout this month as we continue to spotlight women in leadership across Mosaic. Please follow us along. You'll see a new spotlight each week throughout March. Thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.